all going on. Some people call about Madeline a little concerned, and we're just trying to get an idea of where she might be.
Yes.
When's the last time you heard from her or anything like that?
It's Easter Sunday, and my sister is still missing. Everyone's frustrated, and we just can't figure out where she is.
Yeah, so this morning when I last heard from her,
saying that the strait is open. That's what he says.
I was very concerned.
In terms of the number of ships moving through the strait, I can show you the latest numbers on that.
We do one of those.
And AM?
I left the house around
We have carrot cake
Well,
with
actually,
strawberry frosting.
there was no new report today
and
from
peanut butter graham crackers.
JIC, Joint Maritime Info Center.
and my car was
I don't know why they didn't issue a new report yet, but the last one they issued was the 9th, but they have transits.
she wasn't there.
So according to them,
At least it ain't on
Strait
your
of
dashboard.
Hormuz, cargo vessels, August 8, 8 went through. Tankers, August 8, 2 went through. Supposedly also what's happening is there are some ships that they transship oil. They pick up oil from the Gulf, and then they bring it across the Strait of Hormuz, then they load it onto a ship outside the Gulf, outside the Strait of Hormuz. Then they cross back. So, I don't know, I also don't know if that would be, I mean, I would assume that would be included in this. They say metrics are from two different sources. U.S. NCAGS data reflecting U.S. facilitated. Yeah, I mean, supposedly ships that are that cross with the help of the U.S. are in here. So this is not a high number, right? I mean, as of the 8th, it was 2 tankers and 8
It's almost like
cargo vessels. That's in both directions.
Old-fashioned razors.
She had before. She had a couple co-workers in the so that's what I figured she did.
Yeah, Raisback says slightly down from around roughly 130 a day going back and forth in the strait.
Oh, you're right.
I believe that's 130 larger ships, I believe, normally, before the war.
So we usually do drop-offs and pick-ups together. And this morning we both did the drop-off, and I couldn't get any response from her since before 10 or whatever. And I tried calling her. We usually pick up the kids around 4:15. And I tried calling her a bunch of times.
You can actually see here in this document, they have the Strait of Hormuz transits the last 90 days. And I think this was around the Memorandum of Understanding time, when got up to one day about 60 total. But then there were multiple attacks on vessels. Multiple UAS attacks on vessels? I'm not sure what that is. Is that when the United States did attacks on vessels trying to break the blockade? That I don't know. But you can see, recently it has not been that high. This is Bab el Mandeb Strait, and that's the one on the other side of Saudi Arabia, where the Houthis have been attacking some Saudi ships in the Red Sea near the Bab el Mandeb Strait. And you can see the number has been, the last day here was 40 ships, which is lower than it generally has been. Anyways, so it's not, no 24 U.S., we talked about extensively about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve earlier in the broadcast, so you can rewind and watch that if you'd like. What is UAS attacks on vessels? That sounds like an AI question. Hold on. Oh, UAS is drone attacks on vessels. Right, that must be Iranian. UAS as unmanned aircraft systems, uncrewed aircraft systems. Anyways, I don't want to linger on that. Let's see here.
Can I expect any sort of, like, response, like tomorrow or something? Or...
Frank Smith says only when President Vance is sitting behind the Resolute desk will Iran attempt any meaningful negotiations. That's what Frank Smith thinks. He doesn't think it'll happen under Trump. Oh, the New York Times now is independently. They are reporting about this Trump plane story, where they, like the Washington Post, are saying that Trump hid in an airport catering cart and was taken to a military jet and did not actually fly on old Air Force One, like he claimed he did when he left the NATO summit in Turkey. So they are reporting it, but they're not quoting the Washington Post. This is their own reporting now tonight. But like the Washington Post, they were saying that President Trump, because of a credible threat against him and Air Force One from Iran, he was transported in a catering cart to a military jet. And like the Washington Post, they're saying Trump boarded the old Air Force One at the airport, but instead of flying on that plane, he was taken by a food cart that had been fitted to the belly of the plane, to a third plane. They do acknowledge that the Washington Post had reported this earlier. By the way, the White House communications director, Stephen Chung, did not deny this. He told the New York Times that, as the president has said recently, there are many enemies of America who have their sights set on him, and we use every tool at our disposal, including distraction and misdirection, to address those threats. So, Stephen Chung, who certainly has no problem denying stories about President Trump, he didn't deny it.
Yes.
So they say, the Times says that there was a threat from Iran to attack whatever plane Trump was on. Operation Central says if the plane were shot down, blood would be on Trump's hands. Anyway, so now we have two different outlets reporting that.
$59.18.
When was the last ship hit by Iran? You know, a couple of days ago there was reporting in Iranian state media, I think either yesterday or the day before, claiming a ship might have been hit, but UKMTO never reported it. That was, when was it? I'm looking it up right now. When was that? Yesterday. Yesterday, Iranian state media had said that there was a ship on fire in the near the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman. They said there were reports of it, but I never heard anything from UKMTO, so I don't know if there was another one hit. The last one that UKMTO reported was On the 8th? Looks like August 8th. But sometimes they come out late. Hey, thanks so much. Miss Link, by the way, gave 20 people memberships. That's super nice of Miss Link. Please thank Miss Link if you got a membership from Miss Link. 20 people got memberships. Very generous, Miss Link. Thank you. Also, thanks to Aaron S. for being a member. Thanks, Aaron, for 23 months, and Lolly Lollipop, member for 53 months. Well, thank you so much to both of you for being members. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you.
Okay.
That was pretty Thursday. Pretty.
Okay. So maybe I was at the meeting.
I didn't think it was okay. It was the small.
Oh, you're right. Thursday was that, right? So Thursday,
So, I want to show you this analysis by Danny Centrinowicz, who I think does some really good, interesting analysis, thoughtful analysis of the Iran war. I'm going to put it on the screen for you right now. I have mentioned Danny before. So he is with the Atlantic Council and also, I think it's the Institute for National Security Studies. Is that what it is in Israel? So he posted this. Was this yesterday? And I thought it was a very interesting post. This was yesterday. And he thinks that there's a, how did he put it? That things can't really stay like this. He thinks things will have to go one way or the other. Right now it's this kind of weird thing where there's no attacks going on, but it doesn't seem to be like there's really negotiations progressing anywhere. So he says, again, at Centrinowicz, you can follow him, Citrinowicz. He says, so he posted about, there was a report from Barack Ravid which had said that President Trump tells me he is low-keying it on Iran and signals that he's prepared to allow economic pressure on Iran to mount. Okay? So, again, that was a report from Axios' Barack Ravid, where President Trump saying he's low-keying it and prepared to let pressure on Iran, economic pressure, mount. So here's what Danny Centrinowicz said, which I thought was really interesting. He says, unfortunately, this is wishful thinking. Maybe I can make this a little bigger for you. He says, unfortunately, this is wishful thinking. Iran's economic situation is undoubtedly severe, but economic pressure alone is unlikely to force Tehran to either surrender at the negotiating table or to abandon what it considers core strategic interests, including its ability to contest control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has spent decades operating under intense economic pressure and has repeatedly demonstrated an ability to absorb considerable pain without fundamentally changing course. It could take many months, if ever, for economic conditions to become politically intolerable in Iran. And even then, If Tehran believes the choice is between capitulation, surrender, and escalation, its track record suggests that escalation is the more likely response. That creates a serious problem for Washington. Iran has little incentive to accept a status quo in which it absorbs military and economic costs while the U.S. pays relatively little in return. Someone could argue that that's kind of what's going on now. Is that, there's this blockade going on, they can't sell oil, big problems for their economy. Obviously the U.S. is having higher oil prices now and also is spending money on the war, but maybe Tehran thinks that the U.S., that they're suffering more at this point. He says, Tehran therefore has multiple ways to raise the price for the U.S. Threatening shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, increasing pressure on U.S. forces and partners across the region, and using allied militias and proxies to expand the confrontation. Pressure around Bab el-Mandeb Strait from the Houthis adds another potential point of leverage over regional and global commerce. Danny Centrinowicz continues, this is why President Trump may find it difficult to keep the confrontation below the threshold of a broader escalation. Even if Washington wants to contain the crisis and move on to other priorities, Iranian actions could repeatedly force the administration back into it and eventually confront the president with an uncomfortable choice. Accept an outcome Iran can portray as a victory or escalate further to impose greater costs on Iran. The bottom line is that the current equilibrium, Danny thinks, is unlikely to hold. Iran is unlikely to accept sustained military pressure without responding. While its economic difficulties, however serious, are unlikely by themselves to produce the concessions that Washington wants. The central risk for the U.S. is therefore not simply whether economic pressure works, it is whether Washington has a strategy for what happens when economic pressure fails to produce Iranian surrender and Iran instead chooses to escalate. That is the scenario the administration should be preparing for. So the point is, if the U.S. plan is just to let the blockade work, right? What Danny Centrinowicz is saying is, well, if Iran is sitting there and they look at the situation and they feel like, hey, this blockade is hurting us economically, and the U.S. just seems to be sitting there, well, we're going to increase the costs on the U.S. We're going to do something to escalate. For example, they could attack more ships. They could attack energy infrastructure in the Gulf. Who knows what they do? But do some, have the Houthis start attacking more. Do stuff, for example, to raise oil prices more. And at that point, what does the U.S. do? If Iran escalates, what does the U.S. do? If President Trump doesn't want to escalate, then what happens if Iran escalates? That's basically what he's saying. We've been talking about this kind of scenario too. We've been discussing it. I think Danny did a very good job of laying it out. And it's not clear. Our poll question tonight is, will the U.S. attack Iran again? So, it's a very interesting question. But he doesn't expect, Danny Centrinowicz doesn't expect that we're going to go months and months of just what's going on right now. Now, one thing that Barry points out, Barry says they will probably wait it out. He says Iran will probably wait it out until the next president is elected. Well, something that Danny didn't mention in this post, which I certainly think could be part of Iran's thinking, I don't know, is, and other viewers have mentioned this and talked about this, is part of what Iran is doing is waiting for the midterms. If you're Iran, do you feel like, well, let's see what happens in the midterms? Because if the Democrats win the midterms, that could impact Trump's support for the war. If you're Iran, it might seem like a rational thing to just at least wait until the midterms and see what happens. So that's another thing that could be happening. I don't know. Pre-breakfast banana says we won't stop fighting until they open the strait. They won't open the strait as long as we were fighting. Is that what you said? It flew by. Hold on, I'm trying to find pre-breakfast bananas post. Where did it go, pre-breakfast banana?
Valeria Marquez, I think.
We won't stop fighting until they open the strait. They won't open the strait as long as we keep fighting. This seems like an easy thing to figure out. Again, I don't know if the U.S. is going to keep fighting. We don't know that.
Hopefully pleasing.
Remember also what Axios reported. What yesterday, one day ago, President Trump told Axios, we are low-keying it with Iran. He said we're only semi-negotiating with them. We're just watching Iran with its huge inflation and the fact they have no money. So, and he said today, talked about that kind of thing. So, it doesn't seem like he's talking about it, attacking them a lot at this point. Wall Street says Trump didn't like the Obama deal. He's going to end up paying even more. Kranken says Iran won't just give up the strait. Tim Apple says time for Trump to start the Greenland War. And Organized Chaos says sounds like it's a lose-lose war.
Yesterday, they all shared that their family members love serving.
Roger Shoemaker says, welcome to month 6, see you in 7.
Love airplanes and aviation. Our nation's tanker crews really are...
Raptor Rotorhead says, you do what Putin does, you escalate above what the other country can escalate. Again, don't know. I'm interested to know. I don't know if President Trump is willing to escalate. Stacey Wenrich thinks Israel will probably escalate now.
To the skies over foreign countries where they've come forward out of their safe tanker trap.
Mongol Mama thinks we're bleeding interceptors and oil can't go on forever, can't go on at all really. Something else to keep an eye on is the oil price, which we talked about earlier. If that keeps going up, it's about 88 right now, remember. It's about 88 Brent. A couple days ago it was down below, back 4 days ago it was at 79. Now it's back up to 88. Start of the war it was around 70.
Now let me turn to an operations update. U.S. CENTCOM remains on plan to achieve a military objective and remain unrelenting in our pursuit of Iranian missile capabilities, UAV capabilities, and their Navy and interceptor sending industrial base. Each day we continue to attack deeper into Iranian territory. As reported by U.S. Central Command yesterday, the U.S. military dropped 5,000-pound penetrator weapons into underground storage facilities, storing coastal defense cruise missiles and other support equipment.
And something else, we've talked about this before, but I'll just mention it. Keep an eye on long-term bonds, which affect things like the yields on long-term bonds reflect things like mortgage rates. The Trump administration does not want bond yields to keep going up, and they're getting higher. 10-year U.S. yield. Now this is a chart. That's like a forever chart. Well, that's since below the early 1900s. But if we go back that's the last 10 years there, and then this is the last 5 years. That's the last year. Before the war, the 10-year bond yield was below 4. Now it's 4.705. 30-year bond, similar. That's that's right there. That's since 1988. That's 5 years. That's 10 years. That's 1 year.
Last Friday, Alamo people in the CENTCOM team conducted precision strikes against more than 90 targets on Colorado, which included all of their military-only infrastructure, which included air defenses, naval bases, mine storage, and deployment facilities. And as the Secretary mentioned, we continue to strike against Iran's industrial base.
Mortgage rates are, I believe, tied in closely with the 10-year bond. So if that goes up, for example, it makes housing more expensive. Oh, also, according to Gemini, 10-year bond rate also directly influences consumer loans. So if people want to borrow to buy a car or credit card debt, those rates will go up too with the 10-year bond yield. Anyways, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I do know from the past, when yields have gone up, I've seen talk saying like that's going to be something the Trump administration doesn't want. And we're looking now at these yields going to levels close to the high they've been in years. Again, that's the 30-year and that's the 10-year, and that's a 5-year chart for the 10-year bond. I don't know. It was a little higher in early 2025. It looks like that might have been when the tariffs. I think that might have been when Trump announced his tariffs, because I remember the bond yields were going up then. See what it says. I don't know though. Maybe that wasn't right then. I don't remember what month that was. I remember around that time, bond yields were going up. But my point is oil. Yeah, I think April. I think Mike A. You're right that it was around April of last year when the tariffs were announced. Anyways, something to keep an eye on. Bond yields going up and oil prices going up. And if that keeps happening, that President Trump might not want that to keep going on. Why is it going up? I believe because investors think there's going to be more inflation. So if investors think inflation is going to be higher in the future, they're going to, with a bond, it's where you basically loan somebody money and they agree to pay it back to you with interest. So if you think inflation is going to be higher in the future, you're going to want to get more interest, because that money, when you get it back, is going to be worth less in the future if inflation is higher. So if you think inflation is going to be high, you don't want to just give somebody money and have them give you back basically what you loaned them 10 years from now. Because given inflation, that money, if the same amount comes back to you, it'll be worth a lot less in the future. So as people think inflation is going to be more, they're going to demand more, higher interest rates for loaning out money.
I know they're feeling a range of emotions, but the thing the American people should take away from it is they're filled with a focus that is incredibly impressive. And they have fear, of course, but their bigger fear is, dear God, please don't let me screw this up. The warrior's prayer that we all have in our souls. In the days of epic fury, they were shooting, as we talked about in this room, a lot of standoff weapons. Now we've switched and rolled, as I mentioned last week.
That's my understanding.
I got married to.
Although I am not an expert.
And everyone was ahead of me.
out in the snow, out in
There is on July 30th, there was a Yahoo Finance article that talked about bond yields going up and saying that the war in the Middle East is spurring inflation fears. And the treasuries are reflecting fears about inflation.
But have you ever heard the wolf?
Simply awesome. And we hand these Americans
Hey, it's 11:06.
incredible and weighty responsibility, and they deliver every single time. Quietly, with professionalism and humility, doing the things that we ask them to do. In conclusion, we will...
Anyways, don't rely on me, though, for expert financial analysis and advice. That's my general understanding.
Some investigators just said something very funny in class. I can call them investigators if I want to.
But there very well might be other factors, too.
What'd your fan base say? Fucking psycho. Anyways.
I ask today that we remember those 6 fallen that came home. They represent the best of our nation.
So,
for those families.
some investigators.
By the way,
said,
Investopedia says that bond prices are influenced by factors such as interest rates,
the old
credit
saying
ratings, yield,
about
and
not
market
taking
sentiment.
advantage of someone's
So
weakness.
there's all kinds of other factors.
Don't take my
Mr. Chairman, given the updated degradation
kindness. Don't take my kindness for weakness. That's right. I like that saying. Don't take my kindness for weakness. It's a very great statement. That's a staple in our basic human education class. It is. It's a staple. And go into the streams. Don't take my kindness for weakness.
I would assume another factor is if you think that anything that makes you
It
think that
helps
the
to
US is
understand
gonna
the
pay off your
difference,
bond.
doesn't it? Yeah. Should there be a difference? No. I mean, you'd like to prevent those things, right? But it happens. And thank goodness we have systems in place and trained professionals.
This is a clear set of objectives. The President has given us every capability we need to accomplish that. We've got the best in the
If you grew up in the home
Uh,
of trained
By the way,
professionals.
I asked.
I mean, do you really need the
why
degree?
Treasury, long-term
Well, if you want to get
yields
paid
go up.
for it, right? Or get.
It said now again. I would want to verify this. Oh, hold on, I might have something here.
I mean, there's a lot of occupations that can cover. Some just do it as a hobby.
Actually, I don't think so. Anyways, according to ChatGPT, it said the main reasons that long-term Treasury yields go up
So anyways,
are
in line
higher
with
than
the
expected
don't
inflation.
take my
Right, that's the first
kindness
one.
for weakness. They said,
Expectations that
please.
the Fed will keep rates
You
higher
know,
for
some
longer.
are very light on sarcasm
A
and
stronger
jokes.
economy.
Very professional. Understandably.
More Treasury borrowing and larger deficits.
I mean, that's the way it should always be, right?
and
It
more
shouldn't really
uncertainty
have
about
to get
inflation, fiscal policy, or interest rates.
to a level of
So,
insults
It's
and
quite complex.
kind of like how we do it, you know, in our improv classes and different chats and therapy rooms. Yeah, I mean, we're not presenting the news to
D1GG says
you.
inflation plus risk.
We don't have a channel.
Into our orbit. We're proud to be standing with them, you name it. UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and others who have been right there. And we're grateful for that kind of support. As far as the internet, we're watching the regime try to tighten its grip as much as possible. We're obviously taking countermeasures.
But my point is, my general point
To ensure that
is,
messaging is delivered.
I do think if oil prices keep going up and bond yields keep going up, that's not going to be from what I understand, that's not going to be a
Now,
situation that the Trump administration
it's
wants.
almost
So,
sometimes vital to their survival.
something else I'll say is this.
It gets realized
So-
after the fact sometimes, but over time,
If there were fighting going
when
on,
you see that work,
one way
you know,
to
like
calm investors
the character in some of the
calm
movies
markets
that's
would
always
to be saying,
joking
okay,
and
we're
trying to
taking
keep
a
them
break from
laughing or
fighting.
something,
But there's not fighting going on right now.
so they
right?
don't kill them
So
because they make
if
them
oil
laugh.
prices start going up, keep going up, and the bond yields keep going up, he doesn't have the option of just saying Trump, oh, well, we're going to take a break
Sometimes
from fighting.
not
'Cause there's not
with,
fighting going on
at.
right now.
Or not
So I
at
don't
and
know what the
with.
next-
We're not laughing at
what the
you. We're
next move
laughing
would
with
be.
you. I'm not laughing with you. We're laughing at you. There's a difference. You should learn that.
Mr. Secretary, you mentioned civilian infrastructure. Iran seems to be.
It's
Yeah,
a
we
little
talked
bit
about
of both.
strategic
It's
petroleum
both,
reserves
isn't it?
Earlier. All right, I'm going to take a look at a few
It's
more
one of
comments.
those contemplations with the
Anyways, we
self.
covered a bunch of different topics.
Who are you contemplating that with?
Someone just posted, there's already like memes, a meme of President Trump in a catering
Symbol?
cart. I don't think he was actually in a cart. Well, the Washington Post said he was in a
Said,
catering
and
truck.
always said clearly they came in
Although the New York
fighting
Times headline
with
said
weapons.
catering cart.
This is why we continue to be as aggressive and
Remember the movie
assertive
Face
as we
Off?
can against their ballistic missile
That was
capability,
cool.
both their medium-range
kinda
ballistic
cool.
missile capability and
For
their
its
short-range
time,
missile
you know.
capability. So we are continuing to hunt and find them and kill them, and we will continue to do so. So they still retain some capability. And we have layered defenses throughout the region that will allow us to protect those. And we're working with our partners across the Gulf region to help them improve any defensive capabilities that they may need.
To that point on capabilities, Iran is an energy-rich country.
Yes,
Could be,
some
should be.
almost do it
Instead,
purposely,
like
don't
some of the
they?
other places driven by
You'd
oil
almost
price,
think they
you
were
spend
paid
that money instead
protesters.
investing in their people. That's why you had millions of
Where did you
Iranians
get bussed in
protesting
from
because they felt like
anyways?
their condition, quality of life didn't match
Or
what
bust
they
out of?
And
Holy
what was the
shit.
Iranian state? There's a reason we call
What'd
Iran
you
the number one state sponsor.
What'd you do to
They
deserve
took the
this?
money they make and they invested in tunnels.
I can only
They invested
imagine.
in
It's
missiles.
none of my
They invested in
business.
launch
None of mine, never
systems.
mind. You can tell me if
You're
you want,
destroying
but
and degrading
you don't
that,
have to.
degrading that in historic proportions, but it doesn't mean they won't still have.
What are you in for?
But we're fighting every single day to continue to compel. You mentioned
Just throw that out every once in a
along the
while.
lines of previous administrations.
What you in
You're
for?
doubling and tripling down on ensuring that our people, regardless of their Department of War, Department of State, whatever they do, are secure in those facilities. And
I ate off people's faces.
good offenses.
Stay
So
away
we're
from
not
that.
we're not afraid to go after and kill anybody, and we have a lot of them.
Wear a
To,
mask.
Let me just see if we have any other
Iran, we're not surprised that they would be indiscriminately targeting. We're still
things being mentioned. Hold on a second. Any other breaking reports?
What about you? What'd you do? Grand larceny? That's better than eating the face off person. Why didn't they kill that thing? They put it in here with us? Yeah. How the fuck does that play out? I'm in here for some grand larceny. They put me in here with some face
I
eaters!
feel like the last couple days have been one of the quieter periods in months during this war in the Middle East. Interestingly enough. I don't know
Why
if it's
would
going to stay
they?
that way.
Why would they ever do such a thing?
Speak to Iran's role
I can only
in
imagine.
helping the Taliban
I'll give you
war in Afghanistan.
3
And
guesses.
uh,
And if you don't
as
guess
you and Secretary
on the first try, I'm gonna
Bolton
turn you into a
has
toad.
been killed so far, during
I know, it doesn't seem fair, does it?
I was wondering what lessons have been learned
I'm just checking a
from
couple
those
other
deaths,
things
both
here.
from Iranian strikes, from an aircraft refueling accident. How are those lessons being applied?
Oh, I did have something I wanted to mention.
And how are those lessons going to be applied to
Just
a
remember.
potential conflict in Indo-Pacific? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question, and it's true. In a town that can have a very short memory, President Trump does not. He remembers what this regime, Iranian regime, was founded on, what their declaration has been from the beginning: death to America, death to Israel. They've stated that. They've intended to, in every way, try to accomplish that, killing Americans in any theater they can, embassies for quite a long time. In Iraq, that was the deadliest weapon, was the EFP, supposedly formed.
With mentally
I was
ill
there when that
people
tactic
here
technique
in
started to
America
emerge, and the
targeting
realization was it wasn't just
innocent
jihadis
Americans.
putting together 155
Why?
rounds daisy chained. It was an entire state.
There was I noticed that the Institute for the Study of War
Just the
now
ones that
started to have
deserve
a
it.
map of what's going on with. Look at this. We've pulled up Yemen map before. This is a map of the situation.
Oh, don't worry, we just give them noogies. MK Ultra.
And Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they're fucking psychotic.
So I wanted to call your attention to this. You can see it says Houthi and Republic of Yemen government attacks in Yemen.
So they have been at war with us.
Anyway.
Houthis control part of Yemen. The Republic of Yemen
We're gonna
government
check out of that
controls
class.
part of
We
Yemen.
stayed away later
And there's Saudi Arabia here.
than normal.
Republic of Yemen government
Things
forces
get out of the
Iran-backed
ordinary every
which are
once
backed
in a
by
while,
Saudi
don't
Arabia
they?
and Iran-backed Houthis exchanged
Much
fire
love, health,
across
and peace
multiple
to you
Yemeni
all.
governorates between August 7th and August 10th. So that's the red part is the part that the Houthis control. You can see here it says Houthi controlled territory.
Sure.
Yellow
Yes.
dots are the
Feliz Navidad.
Saudi-backed Republican